Remember that lifted eyebrow, the tiny smile, that quiet, "Do you really believe this?" look toward the camera? Tom Selleck turned it into a skill on Magnum PI, making the audience feel like they were part of the joke, even if Higgins never was. Today we're revealing 15 things you might not know about everyone's favorite mustache-wearing private investigator. And no, we're not trying to figure out how Robin Masters made enough money from writing books to afford that huge estate in Ferrari. Those royalty checks must have been unbelievable. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe because it really does support the channel. Now, for anyone who needs a quick reminder, Magnum PI, which aired from 1980 to 1988, followed Thomas Sullivan Magnum IV, a former Navy SEAL who became a private investigator, living an amazing life in Hawaii. With his friends TC and Rick helping him out, Magnum solved cases while driving around in Masters' Ferrari and constantly irritating Higgins, the strict estate manager of Robin's Nest. So grab your aviator sunglasses and get ready because here are 15 things you probably didn't know about Magnum PI, the show that made us all feel like we should move to Hawaii, even if our only car was a beat-up station wagon.
Number 1. The Chip and Dale connection. If Dale from Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers always seemed a little familiar, there's a reason. His red Hawaiian shirt, relaxed attitude, and adventurous personality were directly inspired by Magnum. Meanwhile, Chip wore a fedora and leather jacket that reminded people of Indiana Jones. Interestingly, Tom Selleck was originally considered for the role of Indiana Jones, and we'll talk more about that later. So, in another universe, both chipmunks could have been copying Selleck's famous style. Magnum's influence didn't stop with TV though. His signature Hawaiian shirt started a fashion trend in the 1980s, turning the Aloha shirt from simple beachwear into a popular fashion statement. Hawaiian shirts became more popular as fans tried to copy Magnum's style and capture the feeling of the show. So the next time your kids are watching Rescue Rangers on Disney Plus, you can point to Dale and say, "See that chipmunk? He's dressed like the guy who made Hawaiian shirts cool." They might roll their eyes, but deep down, it'll remind you of a time when you rocked that tropical style too.
Number 2. The original theme song that got replaced. That famous Magnum PI theme song that's probably stuck in your head right now? Well, that wasn't the show's first music. The pilot actually had a jazzier, more relaxed tune made by Ian Freeburn Smith. It was the kind of background music you'd expect while sipping a martini in a smoky piano bar, not while chasing bad guys on the beaches of Oahu. Before we move on, hit subscribe. My mom says this channel is a waste of time. Prove her wrong. When the show moved from the pilot to the full series, the producers realized they needed something with more power. You know, the kind of music that makes you want to speed off in a Ferrari and ignore every speed limit along the way. So they brought in the famous duo Mike Post and Pete Carpenter to create a new theme. The result was a high-energy, instantly recognizable anthem that still shows up in memes, commercials, and sports events even decades later. It's like when your favorite band finally drops the acoustic guitars, turns up the amps, and suddenly goes from playing small coffee shops to selling out stadiums. The original theme was nice, but the new one became so famous that it's basically the 1980s in TV music form.
Number 3. John Hillerman was a Texan, not British. Higgins, with his perfect British accent, military posture, and strict sense of proper behavior, was the ideal opposite of Magnum's relaxed Hawaiian shirt-wearing style. But here's the surprise. John Hillerman, the actor who played Jonathan Quayle Higgins III, and yes, that's his real name, wasn't British at all. He was born and raised in Texas. Hillerman learned his flawless upper-class British accent through years of practice, which means the man who sounded like he should be serving afternoon tea at Buckingham Palace actually grew up in Denison, Texas. He did the accent so perfectly that even real Brits were fooled. A pretty big compliment when your hometown is more likely to serve barbecue than high tea.
You mean for the next week, I'm going to have to live in this squalor with... I found it!
And if you've never heard Hillerman's real voice, get ready to be amazed.
I like Higgins, though. We're not alike, but I do like him. I enjoy doing that character very much. He's fun in his own.
Hillerman's performance as Higgins earned him 5 Golden Globe nominations, winning in 1981, and 4 Emmy nominations, winning in 1987, making him one of the most celebrated supporting actors of his time. Not bad for a man who spent his career convincing everyone he was born across the Atlantic. He retired from acting in 1999 and went back to his home state of Texas, where he lived until he passed away in 2017. He's definitely remembered with fondness. I mean, who else is still surprised that he wasn't actually British? Or is it just me?
Number 4. The famous Detroit Tigers cap with Selleck's personal touch.
Rose's crew is not gone yet. And who is this man? A detective on TV, not a baseball player. His name is Tom Selleck.
That Detroit Tigers cap became as famous as Magnum's mustache. But it wasn't just part of the costume. It was a personal touch from Tom Selleck himself. As a lifelong Tigers fan and a Detroit native, Selleck wanted Magnum to show a bit of his own personality. So, he asked the producers if his character could wear the cap. They said yes, and a piece of Michigan pride became part of TV history. But Selleck's love for the Tigers didn't stop at the hat. In the Season 3 episode, A Sense of Debt, Magnum meets real-life Tigers legend Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell.
Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe. My mom bet I wouldn't hit 1,000 subs. Let's not let her win.
Though, in a classic 80s TV twist, he didn't recognize them out of uniform. If you ask me, that's a big miss for a huge Tigers fan. Anyway, if you ever want to see the real thing, Selleck's original Magnum PI cap now lives in the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, making it maybe the most famous baseball cap in TV history.
Number 5. The Ferrari wasn't actually that fast. That famous Ferrari 308 GTS that made us all dream of tropical joyrides wasn't quite the speed machine we imagined. Because of US emission rules in the early 80s, the American versions of the 308 GTS that Magnum drove had much less horsepower than the European models. The original carbureted 308 GTS from the late 70s had about 255 horsepower, but the 1980 GTSI version used in seasons 2 and 3 dropped to just 205 horsepower. That's a big hit for a car that looked like it should have its own soundtrack for racing. Ferrari later fixed this with the 1984 308 GTS Quattrovalvole or QV model seen in the later seasons, which raised it back to 230 to 235 horsepower, though it still fell short of the European versions.
If you're in the Scottsdale area this week and you're a Ferrari fan or a Magnum PI fan,
So while it wasn't exactly slow, it also wasn't the speed demon the show's chase scenes made it seem. It's like dating someone beautiful with a terrible sense of direction. They might not get you where you're going, but they sure look good doing it. Still, that didn't stop one of the QVs from selling for $181,500 in 2017. A reminder that putting a Hollywood star behind the wheel can really boost resale value. Despite its modest power, the 308 GTS is still one of the most recognizable Ferraris ever made, largely thanks to Magnum PI, showing that sometimes it's better to look fast than actually be fast, especially when you've got Tom Selleck behind the wheel to distract everyone.
Number 6. The show's Hawaiian location was a happy accident. Magnum PI being set in Hawaii wasn't some big creative choice. It was mostly network recycling. CBS had just finished Hawaii 5-0 after 12 seasons, and it didn't want to waste all the tax breaks, sound stages, and local crews. Now, you remember Hawaii 5-0, right?
Book 'em, Dana.
So when it came time to develop Magnum PI, CBS basically said, hey, we already have all this Hawaii stuff, might as well use it. Because why spend millions building new sets when you can just give Tom Selleck a pair of aviators and call it a day? The funny thing is, this budget-friendly choice ended up defining the show, with Hawaii becoming almost like another character alongside Magnum. It was a move that worked perfectly, helping make the island famous in TV history and paving the way for shows like Lost and the Hawaii 5-0 reboot decades later. So, the next time you see a beautiful Hawaiian sunset on TV, just remember, it all started because CBS didn't want to miss out on a good tax break.
Number 7. Magnum's famous fourth wall breaks became a signature. You know that move where Magnum raises an eyebrow or smirks and looks at the camera like he's letting you in on a private joke? It's basically the TV version of a friend giving you that, "Can you believe this?" look across the room at a party. And it became one of the show's most loved trademarks. Breaking the fourth wall in a drama was risky, especially in the early 80s, but it worked for Magnum PI because the whole show had a playful wink and nod vibe. It was a series where you could go from dodging bullets to trading jokes with a pair of Dobermans without missing a beat. It made the audience feel like they were right there in Hawaii, riding shotgun in the Ferrari, even if most of us were just sitting on the couch in tube socks eating Pop-Tarts. All right, folks, before we continue with even more weird Magnum facts, make sure you like and subscribe. And don't worry, we promise not to send Zeus and Apollo after you if you forget to hit the notification bell. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
Number 8. The running gags that kept us coming back. Magnum P.I. wasn't just about solving crimes. It was also about the little recurring jokes that made fans feel like they were part of the fun. These running gags became as much a part of the show's identity as the Ferrari itself. First up, the quirky tradition of ordering pickled eggs at the King Kamehameha Club, the kind of bar snack that says, "I may be living on a tropical island, but my cholesterol still needs a challenge." It's a small but wonderfully odd touch that added to the show's offbeat charm.
Pickled egg, please.
TC? No. Come on, can't you come up with another joke? I mean, 3 days in a row? Besides, you know I hate to fish those stinky things out. I hate them.
Pickled egg, please.
Then there were Higgins' endless war stories. These always started with, "When I was in," followed by some far-off place where he supposedly served in the British military. By this point, Higgins had supposedly been everywhere, from the beaches of Normandy to the sands of North Africa, making you wonder if he was the Forrest Gump of British officers. And let's not forget TC's constant complaints about Magnum never paying him back for helicopter rides. "You still owe me for last time, and the time before that, and the time before that." By the end of the series, Magnum's tab with TC probably looked like Norm's tab on Cheers. Yeah, right, Norm's tab was probably still a bit higher. But of course, there were also the infamous lads, Zeus and Apollo, Higgins' ever-watchful Dobermans, who seemed to have a supernatural sense whenever Magnum was sneaking around the estate. They were like 24/7 security, but with more teeth and much less patience.
You looked at the dogs.
These running gags gave the show its familiar, lived-in feel, the kind of inside jokes that make you feel like part of the crew. So the next time you're at a bar, casually ask for a pickled egg and see who gets the reference. Just don't expect anyone to cover your tab. Number 9, Magnum rarely actually killed anyone. For an 80s action hero, Magnum had a surprisingly clean record. There were plenty of shootouts, car chases, and slow-motion fistfights, but only one confirmed kill in the entire series. And let's be honest, that guy probably deserved it.
Ivan?
Yes?
Did you see the sunrise this morning?
Yes. Why?
Sure, he might have cracked a few ribs and blown up the occasional speedboat, but he never went full Rambo. This wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate choice by the show's creators to make Magnum different from other trigger-happy TV heroes. While shows like the A-Team somehow fired thousands of rounds without hitting anything but scenery, Magnum's restraint was about his character, not network rules. His military training made him capable of lethal force, but his moral code kept him from crossing that line, like a mustached Batman. He was the kind of guy who could punch out a henchman, ruin his boss's wine cellar, and still have time to crack a joke about it. A thinking man's action hero who preferred a well-timed right hook over a body. It was a smart choice that kept him tough without turning him into a cold-blooded killer. The kind of guy who could solve a mystery, dodge a punch, and still make it to the beach for a cold one.
Number 10, the real Robin's Nest. For all the years we watched Magnum P.I., most of us probably assumed that Robin's Nest, the beachfront estate where Magnum lived rent-free, dodged Higgins' Dobermans, and sipped his morning coffee like he never had to worry about a mortgage, was just a TV creation. But the real-life mansion, known as the Anderson Estate, was an actual piece of prime Hawaiian real estate on Oahu's beautiful Waimanalo Beach. With its distinctive red-tiled roof, private lagoon, and sweeping ocean views, the Anderson Estate became one of the most recognizable TV locations of the 80s, the kind of place you'd expect to see on a postcard, or at least as the backdrop for a million Magnum smirks. Sadly, this piece of TV history was sold in 2015 and later demolished because apparently even iconic TV homes can't escape the wrecking ball forever. So if you ever find yourself on Oahu and someone asks if you know where Robin's Nest is, just give them a knowing nod and maybe add, Don't worry, I won't tell Higgins you were asking. Number 11. Tom Selleck's generosity to the crew. After 8 successful seasons, you'd think CBS would have been handing out bonuses like Magnum tossing his car keys to the valet. But when the network refused to pay bonuses for the final season, Tom Selleck stepped up in a big way. Instead of flipping a table or storming off to his trailer, Selleck quietly wrote $1,000 checks for each crew member. And this was 1980s money, about $4,000 today, roughly the cost of a decent used car back then. Raise your hand if you bought your first car for less than $1,000. Oh, it must just be me. Anyway, for a show with a large crew, this would have cost him tens of thousands of dollars. This kind gesture cemented him as a genuine class act in an industry where tantrums over the wrong color M&Ms are practically a rite of passage. No wonder the guy still gets work whenever he wants. When you're known for giving out checks instead of flipping them, Hollywood doesn't forget.
Number 12. The show was ahead of its time on PTSD. Beneath the sun-soaked beaches, car chases, and 80s action moments, Magnum P.I. addressed a topic most shows of its era avoided: PTSD and Vietnam veterans. While other shows made vets either one-dimensional loose cannons or flawless action heroes, Magnum P.I. took a more thoughtful approach. Thomas Magnum, TC, and Rick were all Vietnam veterans, and the show didn't shy away from their trauma. Flashbacks, nightmares, and quiet moments of reflection reminded viewers that these characters carried scars even Hawaiian sunsets couldn't fully heal. This authenticity came directly from series creator Donald P. Belisario, a former Marine, who used his own experiences to add emotional depth to the show's sunny adventures. So while audiences tuned in for the Ferrari chases and beachside shootouts, they also got a rare look at the lasting psychological effects of war, making Magnum P.I. one of the first shows to seriously explore combat trauma. It's a small but important detail that set Magnum apart from the one-dimensional action heroes of the era, and another reason why the show still holds a special place in fans' hearts. Number 13. Magnum P.I. had a real crossover with Murder, She Wrote. In 1986, two of TV's most unexpected detectives crossed paths in one of the strangest crossovers of the decade.
I know of J.B. Fletcher, but I thought he was an author. No, I mean, if you're the J.B. Fletcher I know of, I just didn't know you were a woman.
It all started with the Magnum P.I. episode, Novel Connection, on November 19, 1986, and wrapped up just 4 days later with the Murder, She Wrote episode, Magnum on Ice. The story begins with Jessica Fletcher, played by the ever-sharp Angela Lansbury, visiting Hawaii for what should be a peaceful getaway, relaxing by the beach, enjoying some pineapple, and not tripping over corpses. But this is Jessica Fletcher, so of course she stumbles into a murder mystery. Magnum, meanwhile, finds himself framed for murder, and the two team up in a pairing as unlikely as putting a surfboard next to a typewriter. What made the crossover work was how it leaned into their differences. Magnum's kick down the door and ask questions later style clashed perfectly with Jessica's careful, deduction-heavy approach. It's like mixing a rum-soaked beach party with a knitting circle. Somehow, it just worked. The episodes became instant fan favorites and even earned a special featurette on the Magnum P.I. Season 7 DVD. A rare treat in the pre-YouTube era when fans had to rely on actual discs and patience. It's a reminder that sometimes the strangest TV team-ups make the best moments, even if they'd probably drive each other crazy in real life.
Number 14. The Reboot's hidden cameos. When Magnum P.I. was rebooted in 2018, the producers gave a nod to fans of the original by sneaking in a few familiar faces, but with a twist. Instead of reprising their old roles, Roger E. Mosley, the helicopter-flying TC, and Larry Manetti, the always scheming Rick, appeared as completely new characters. Mosley played John Bookie, a barber with a talent for sage advice and the kind of old-school wisdom you'd expect from a guy who spent the 80s flying tourists over volcanoes. It's like casting Mr. T as a yoga instructor. Unexpected, but strangely satisfying. Honestly, they should make a whole show like that, even if just for an episode. It would be hilarious.
Not that dude. Hell no, I'm not scared. I just don't see myself going out some fiery whirly bird mishap.
Manetti, meanwhile, showed up as Nicky the Kid DeMarco, a lounge singer with mob connections, basically Rick if he'd swapped his Hawaiian shirt for a sequin jacket. And because Manetti apparently enjoys a good crossover, he played the same character on the rebooted Hawaii 5-0, making him one of the few actors to appear in 2 reboots. These cameos were like when your favorite band reunites for a tour, but everyone decides to switch instruments. It's odd, but you're still happy to see them back on stage. It was a subtle way for the producers to honor the original while letting the reboot create its own identity. A tricky balancing act that actually worked really well for nostalgic fans.
Number 15. Tom Selleck lost Indiana Jones because of Magnum PI. You might think Tom Selleck's biggest Hollywood heartbreak was the day he had to shave off that glorious mustache to play Peter Malloy in 1997's In and Out.
You couldn't possibly understand what this is like.
Howard, I'm gay.
But no, the real heartbreak came when he lost the chance to play one of the most iconic movie characters ever, Indiana Jones. That's right, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas originally wanted Selleck for Raiders of the Lost Ark. He wanted the role and they wanted him. It seemed like a perfect match made in action hero heaven. But there was one problem. CBS wouldn't release him from his Magnum PI contract. In an ultimate twist of fate, a writer's strike delayed Magnum PI's production, which meant Selleck could have done both if the timing had been just a little different. But by then, Harrison Ford had already picked up the whip and fedora, and the rest is cinema history.
So, the next time you're having a bad day, just remember that Tom Selleck had to watch someone else become Indiana Jones while he was stuck in paradise driving a Ferrari. Okay, that still sounds pretty cool, but you get the point. And there you have it. 15 facts about Magnum PI that you can use to impress absolutely no one at your next social gathering, or to win a really hard game of Trivial Pursuit. If you're still here, you must have enjoyed this nostalgic trip back to a time when TV detectives solved crimes without smartphones or DNA testing. So hit that like button harder than you used to hit the side of your TV when the vertical hold went out. And if you have a favorite Magnum memory or a fact we missed, drop it in the comments below. Just don't tell us the Ferrari wasn't actually that fast, because we're still in denial about that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.